Why does every battalion have a captain that everyone knows is incompetent? Ours was Captain Garrett Holbrook, 32 years old, West Point graduate, son of a 2-star general, and the most clueless officer I ever served under. I'm talking about a guy who got lost on his own base, multiple times, who once ordered us to dig defensive positions facing the wrong direction during a training exercise, who couldn't read a map without holding it upside down first to see if it looked better that way. The stories about Holbrook were legendary before I even met him. My first day at the unit, my squad leader, Sergeant Vaughn, pulled me aside. Listen up, Sterling. You're gonna hear a lot about Captain Holbrook. Yes, it's all true. No, you can't do anything about it. Just keep your head down and try not to be around when he makes his next disaster. I thought Vaughn was exaggerating. He wasn't. My first week, Holbrook scheduled a company run at 0500, standard morning PT, except he forgot to tell anyone except first platoon. Half the company showed up in the wrong uniform. The other half didn't show up at all because they never got the word. Holbrook stood there confused, asking why everyone looked so disorganized. Sir, we didn't know about this run until 10 minutes ago, someone explained. Well, you should check your emails more often, Holbrook said. He'd sent the email to the wrong company. An artillery unit 3 buildings over had gotten our PT schedule. They were probably just as confused as we were, but the real problems started during our field training rotation. 2 weeks in the woods practicing combat scenarios. This is where officers either prove themselves or wash out. Holbrook did neither. He just sort of existed, making everyone's job harder. Day 3, he ordered us to set up camp in a dried creek bed. Perfect flat ground, he said. Easy to defend. Sergeant Vaughn tried to explain why that was a terrible idea. Sir, weather report shows rain tonight. This whole area will flood. Nonsense, Vaughn. I checked the weather myself. Clear skies all week. Holbrook had checked the weather for Fort Carson in Colorado. We were training in Louisiana, 800 miles away. That night, torrential rain hit. The creek bed turned into a river. We spent 4 hours in the dark, moving all our gear uphill while Holbrook kept saying, well, how was I supposed to know it would rain? By checking the correct weather forecast, sir, Vaughn muttered under his breath. The worst incident came during a live fire exercise. We're practicing squad movements with actual ammunition. Dangerous stuff, requires precise coordination. Holbrook was supposed to be controlling the exercise from a command post, keeping everyone safe, making sure nobody crossed into the impact area where artillery shells were landing. I'm moving with my squad when I hear Holbrook's voice on the radio. All units, advance to phase line Delta. Sergeant Vaughn's face went pale. Say again, sir? You want us to advance to Delta? Affirmative. Move to phase line Delta immediately. Vaughn grabbed the map. Phase line Delta was inside the impact area. Holbrook was ordering us to advance into an active artillery strike zone. Sir, Delta is in the live fire zone. We'll be advancing into danger close range of the artillery. Brief pause on the radio. Then Holbrook's voice, slightly uncertain. Stand by. We stood there for 20 minutes while Holbrook figured out he'd been reading the map wrong. He meant phase line Bravo. Delta was 3 kilometers in the opposite direction. The safety officer shut down the entire exercise, investigated how a captain could make such a catastrophic mistake. Everyone figured this was finally it. Holbrook would get relieved of command. 2 weeks later, he was still our company commander, not even a reprimand. That's when Sergeant Vaughn explained it to me during night watch. You know why Holbrook's untouchable? His father is General Holbrook, the guy who controls officer assignments for the entire division. Nobody wants to file paperwork saying they fired his son, so we're stuck with him until he either promotes up and becomes someone else's problem or retires. The army protects its own, especially when daddy's a general. Made me sick. Good officers getting passed over for promotions while this guy coasted on his family name. But here's the thing, nobody tells you about incompetent officers. Eventually, someone higher up notices. 6 months later, we're loading up for deployment to Iraq. Holbrook's acting nervous, checking his phone constantly. Usually he's oblivious, but something's different. Formation time comes. Battalion commander shows up instead of Holbrook. Captain Holbrook has been reassigned effective immediately. Your new company commander is Captain Everett Pierce, transferring from 2nd Battalion. Pierce turned out to be sharp, competent, actually knew how to read a map. Later, Vaughn found out what happened. General Holbrook had retired 2 months earlier. The moment Daddy left the army, his protection evaporated. Higher command had been keeping a file on every mistake Holbrook made, waiting for the right moment. The day his father's retirement became official, they transferred him to a desk job at Fort Polk, middle of Louisiana, processing paperwork for equipment requisitions. About as far from combat leadership as you can get. Last I heard, he's still there, probably filing forms upside down, but at least he's not getting soldiers killed.